All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are going deep, deep inside you.
Deep inside, that's right.
We're talking the autonomic nervous system and sleep.
Ooh, good stuff.
It's like a whole secret world happening inside of us all the time that we just don't even realize is going on. But it keeps us going.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. It's constantly working to maintain this delicate balance that we call homeostasis.
Homeostasis, that's like our internal thermostat, making sure everything's running at the right temperature.
Exactly, yeah. It's all about keeping our internal environment stable.
So not just temperature then.
No. So many factors. Heart rate, blood pressure, temperature you mentioned, blood sugar, so many.
Wow. So how does it do that? Like, how does our body actually manage all of that?
Well, that's where this autonomic nervous system steps in. It's the part of your nervous system that controls all the things you don't have to think about. Breathing, digestion, heart rate.
Okay, so it's like our body's autopilot then.
Perfect analogy, yeah.
Keeping everything running smoothly in the background.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This autopilot system, it's got like two branches working together.
Two branches.
The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems.
Two branches, two functions.
Precisely. So the sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight system. It's what kicks in, when we face a threat, a challenge, floods our body with all these hormones, adrenaline, cortisol.
That's got to be what gives us that boost of energy when we're stressed, right? Like if you have to slam on the brakes or you're about to give a big presentation.
You got it. It preps us to either face danger head on or run away to safety. It's essential for survival, this system.
But you don't want to be in that mode all the time, I'm guessing.
No, it's meant for short bursts, not constant activation.
So then we swing over to the other branch, the, what was it, parasympathetic?
Yes, the parasympathetic nervous system. Think of this one as the rest and digest system.
Okay.
It slows things down, promotes relaxation. It's about recovery and rebuilding. It's hitting the brakes after that stressful situation.
So we want a good balance between those two, right? The gas pedal and the brakes.
Exactly. You need both, right? You need the surge of energy when you need it, but you also need to be able to rest and recover.
Makes sense.
But here's the thing. In today's world, so many of us are stuck in this state of chronic stress, which means the sympathetic nervous system is just on for way too long.
Our body's stuck with the foot on the gas pedal,
Yeah.
even though there's no danger.
Exactly. And that has some real consequences, for our physical and mental health.
So that brings us to stress then. What's actually going on in our bodies when we're stressed out all the time?
Well, remember those hormones, adrenaline and cortisol?
Yeah.
In a short burst, they're actually helpful. They help us deal with the situation. But when we're constantly stressed, they're elevated, and that's where the problems start.
So it's like an alarm that just keeps going off even though there's no fire.
Exactly. Over time, all those hormones wreak havoc.
Like what kind of havoc?
Well, first of all, your immune system takes a hit.
Oh, real?
So you're more susceptible to colds, infections.
That's why we get sick when we're stressed out.
That's a big part of it, yep. And that's just the beginning. Chronic stress also messes with your sleep, your memory, your concentration. Can even contribute to digestive issues, heart problems, anxiety, even depression.
Wow. It really is all connected, huh? The mental and the physical.
It really is a mind-body connection. The more we understand these systems, the better we can take care of ourselves.
So to be healthy, we need to manage that stress.
Absolutely. And one of the most powerful tools we have, sleep.
Sleep? Oh, yeah. But what about those nights when you just can't turn your brain off?
I hear you. But sleep is way more than just rest. It's a whole active process. It's about restoring our bodies and minds down to a cellular level.
Okay, so tell me more about this active process. What's going on in our brains when we sleep?
Well, imagine sleep as a journey through different stages, each one marked by specific brainwave patterns and changes in our body. You start by transitioning from being awake into non-REM sleep.
Stages. It's not just an on-off switch.
No, not at all. As you move through these stages, your brain waves slow down, your breathing gets regular, muscles relax, temperature drops.
Okay, and what's happening in each of these stages? Like, are we just getting more and more relaxed?
It's more than just relaxation. Each stage has a purpose in the sleep cycle. Deep sleep, or slow wave sleep, that's when your body really gets to work repairing and restoring itself. It's when growth hormone is released, tissues are rebuilt, even your immune system gets a boost.
So it's like a nightly tune-up.
You got it. Then you have REM sleep. That's where we do most of our dreaming. Rapid eye movements, your brain's active, but your muscles are paralyzed.
Paralyzed? What? Why?
Yeah, it sounds weird, but it's actually to protect you from acting out your dreams.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, but why dream at all? What's the point?
That's a question that scientists have been debating for ages. But a lot of theories say dreams help us process memories, emotions, even work through
So
problems.
like our brain is trying to make sense of everything that's happened.
Exactly, and the more we learn about sleep, the more we see just how important it is for our health.
Okay, but how much sleep do we actually need then?
Most adults need about 7 to 9 hours a night, but it can vary from person to person,
All right.
and not getting enough, well, that can have some pretty serious consequences.
So what happens when we don't sleep enough?
Well, in the short term, you're going to be tired, fatigued, irritable, you might have trouble concentrating. But over time, it increases your risk for all sorts of problems: obesity, diabetes, heart disease, even
Oh,
Alzheimer's.
wow. That's scary. So we really shouldn't skimp on sleep.
Absolutely not. It all goes back to that balance we talk about.
Right.
When you're sleep deprived, your body's stuck in that stress mode.
Ah, yeah.
So sleep, it's like hitting the reset button. It lets our systems function the way they're supposed to.
Okay, I get it. Now, I'm really curious about these brainwave patterns you mentioned. What's that all about?
It's like our brains have their own internal symphony playing all the time, different rhythms for different mental states.
So our brains are making music.
In a way, yeah. And just like music can make you feel different things, so can these rhythms.
I'm all ears. Tell me about this brain music.
Okay, so there are a few main rhythms. Alpha waves are when you're relaxed, eyes closed.
Hmm.
It's the meditation state, deep calm. Then there are beta waves. They're dominant when you're alert, focused. It's like your brains get to work signal.
Makes sense?
Then we have gamma waves, even faster than beta, and those are thought to be involved in higher level stuff like problem solving, creativity.
Wow.
Then there's delta waves, the slowest of all.
Uh-huh.
They happen during deep sleep, that dreamless sleep.
Okay.
And finally, theta waves. Those are often linked to daydreaming, creativity, that light sleep, kind of like the bridge between waking and sleeping.
It's amazing all this is happening and we're not even aware of it.
Mm.
But what happens when these rhythms get messed up?
Well, that's where sleep disorders come in.
Ah, yeah.
Insomnia, narcolepsy, restless leg syndrome, they can all be linked to disruptions in these brainwave patterns.
So we're about to enter the land of sleep disorders now.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area, but not always fun to experience, that's for sure.
Well, I'm ready. Lead the way.
So, sleep disorders, it's a whole world unto itself, really.
Yeah, I think we all have those nights where we just toss and turn.
Yeah.
But when does it become a real disorder? Like, when do you know it's more than just a bad night?
Well, I guess it comes down to how often it happens and how much it's impacting your life. If it's, chronic, if it's messing with your day, your mood, even your health, that's when you got to think about it maybe being a disorder.
Okay, so what are some of these sleep disruptors we should be on the lookout for?
Well, insomnia's got to be the most common one, affects millions of people. It's basically having trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or both, leading to like really poor quality sleep. You just don't feel refreshed.
So you're not just tired the next day. It sounds like it can really affect everything.
Oh, absolutely. It messes with your concentration, your mood, your relationships. And, long-term insomnia is linked to like higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, depression.
Wow, that's serious. So what causes insomnia? Is it all just stress?
Stress is definitely a big factor, yeah, but it's often more complicated than that. Sometimes it's psychological stuff, stress, anxiety, depression. Sometimes it's tied to medical conditions.
Like what?
Oh, chronic pain, restless leg syndrome, even hormonal changes can mess with your sleep.
So it could be one thing or a whole bunch of things together.
Exactly. And then you've got lifestyle factors too, irregular sleep schedule, caffeine before bed, alcohol, and of course the blue light from all our devices.
Yeah, blue light's a big one I've heard. It makes sense, especially since you were saying earlier how sensitive our internal clocks are to light.
Right. Your circadian rhythm, that internal clock, is super important for regulating your sleep-wake cycle, and that blue light at night, it suppresses melatonin production.
And melatonin is the thing that makes us sleepy.
Yep, that's the one. So, scrolling through your phone before bed is not the best recipe for a good night's sleep.
Makes sense. All right, so what about narcolepsy? That's where people fall asleep suddenly, even in the middle of doing things, right?
Yeah, that's narcolepsy. It can be pretty disruptive. People with narcolepsy, they have this overwhelming daytime sleepiness, and they can have what we call sleep attacks. They just fall asleep involuntarily.
So you could be in a meeting or even driving and just nod off.
Unfortunately, yes. That's why it's so important to get diagnosed and treated. Another weird symptom is something called cataplexy.
Cataplexy, what's that?
It's the sudden loss of muscle control, often triggered by strong emotions.
Strong emotions, like what?
Laughter, excitement, even anger.
Wait, so you could be laughing and just collapse?
Basically, yeah. You're conscious, but your muscles just go weak. It's thought to be linked to the same thing that causes muscle atonia during REM sleep.
Oh, so it's like REM sleep paralysis, but while you're awake.
Pretty much, yeah. The brain's a mysterious thing.
It really is. Okay, so we've got insomnia, narcolepsy, what else?
Well, how about restless leg syndrome, or RLS? You ever get that creepy crawly feeling in your legs, that urge to move them?
Oh yeah, I get that sometimes on long flights. It's so annoying.
Well, with RLS, it's way more intense and frequent, and it often happens mostly at night, which makes it really hard to fall asleep.
So your legs just want to move when you're trying to lie still?
Yep, it's like they have a mind of their own. We don't know the exact cause, but it probably involves dopamine, the neurotransmitter that helps with movement.
So insomnia, narcolepsy, restless legs, anything else?
Oh yeah, how about one where you act out your dreams? Sleepwalking.
Sleepwalking, I've heard some funny stories about that. But it's also kind of dangerous, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Sleepwalkers are asleep, but their bodies are moving. They can do some pretty complex things, like getting dressed, even cooking.
And they're not even aware of it.
Nope, not at all.
That's kind of scary. What about jet lag? Is that considered a sleep disorder too? I mean, we all feel kind of groggy after a long flight.
It is a sleep disorder, but a temporary one. It's all because of the disruption to your circadian rhythm, from crossing time zones. Your internal clock is still on the old time, but your environment's on a new time.
Yeah, it's like your body's in a time warp.
Exactly. And you get all those symptoms: fatigue, insomnia, trouble concentrating, headaches. It's not fun.
All right, last one, sleep apnea. I know that's when people stop breathing while they're sleeping, but how serious is it really?
Sleep apnea is definitely more than just snoring. It's a serious condition. You have these pauses in breathing throughout the night, sometimes for like 10 seconds or more.
So you're really not breathing for a while, like multiple times a night?
Yeah, and it can happen hundreds of times. It disrupts sleep. You don't get enough oxygen. There are two main types: obstructive and central.
Two types. Different causes, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so obstructive sleep apnea, that's when the airway gets blocked, usually by the tissues in the back of the throat collapsing.
You think it's scary?
It can be. And then central sleep apnea, that's a problem with the brain signaling to the muscles that control breathing. The brain basically forgets to tell you to breathe for a second.
Wow. So our breathing isn't always automatic.
Nope, even when we're asleep, the brain's still in charge. And with sleep apnea, those pauses in breathing, they can cause your blood oxygen to drop, which can lead to all sorts of problems.
Like what?
Well, short term, you get the snoring, the gasping for air, daytime sleepiness, trouble concentrating. But long term, untreated sleep apnea can up your risk of high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, even cognitive decline.
Yikes. So what do you do if you think you might have it?
Talk to your doctor. That's the first step. Get a proper diagnosis. There are treatments, though, depending on the type and how bad it is.
What kind of treatments?
For obstructive sleep apnea, the most common one is CPAP. You wear a mask while you sleep, and it blows air into your airway to keep it open.
So it's like a constant airstream.
Yeah, pretty much. There are also lifestyle changes that can help, like losing weight, avoiding alcohol before bed. There are even dental devices that can help.
So there's hope.
Oh, absolutely. This deep dive into sleep disorders, it's been a lot of information.
Yeah, it's been fascinating, but also kind of scary. I mean, do we have any control over any of this?
Well,
Or is it just all pre-programmed?
That's a great question. I mean, we might not be able to consciously control our heart rate beat by beat, but we can definitely influence these systems through our choices, our actions.
So it's not just fate.
No, not at all. And that's what we'll talk about next, the practical stuff. How we can actually optimize our sleep, manage stress, and take charge of our well-being.
All right, bring on the practical advice. I'm ready. Okay, so let's get down to brass tacks here. We've learned a lot about how these systems work, but what can we actually do about it, in our everyday lives to sleep better, stress less, just feel better overall?
It really does come down to, taking what we've learned and actually putting it into practice. And the good news is there's a lot of simple stuff you can do that can make a big difference.
So no crazy life overhauls necessary?
Nope, just some smart tweaks. So let's start with stress, since that's like the key to keeping that autonomic nervous system balanced. One of the best things you can do: exercise.
Ooh, exercise. Classic advice. But how does that actually help with stress?
Well, when you exercise, your heart rate goes up, your breathing gets faster, you might even sweat. It's basically like a mini fight or flight response.
So we're giving our sympathetic nervous system a workout, but in a controlled way.
Yeah, exactly. And then after that burst of activity, your body naturally shifts into that rest and digest mode.
Okay, so it's like hitting the reset button on the stress response.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be crazy intense workouts.
Right, right.
Even a brisk walk, some yoga, anything that gets you moving can help. And don't forget about mindfulness practices.
Like yoga and meditation. I've always been
Yeah.
a little skeptical about those.
Well, there's actually a lot of research now showing that they can have some pretty powerful effects. Meditation, for example, can actually reduce activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain that processes fear and stress.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, it increases activity in the areas of the brain that help with self-awareness and emotional control.
So it's like training your brain to handle stress better.
That's a good way to put it. And of course, there's nutrition.
Ah, yes, what we eat.
It plays a huge role in how we feel, how we cope with stress. So, the usual healthy eating advice applies.
Fruits, vegetables, all that good stuff.
Exactly. A balanced diet gives your body the nutrients it needs to function properly, including the ones that help regulate stress hormones. And cutting back on processed foods, sugary drinks, too much caffeine, that can make a big difference in your mood and energy levels.
Okay, so fuel the body right to fight stress right. Makes sense. What about sleep then? You've convinced me that sleep is super important, but with our busy lives, how do we make sure we're getting enough?
Well, the first thing is to really figure out how much sleep you actually need. It's different for everyone. Some people are good with 7 hours, others need closer to 9.
Right.
It's about paying attention to your body and adjusting your schedule accordingly. Once you know how much sleep you need, the next step is consistency.
Okay, so a regular sleep schedule.
Yep. Go to bed and wake up around the same time each day, even on weekends.
Even weekends, that's tough.
I know, but it really helps regulate that circadian rhythm. And just as important as the schedule is your bedtime routine.
Routine, like what kind of routine?
Think about it as signaling to your body that it's time to wind down. So maybe a warm bath, reading a book, listening to some calming music.
So relaxing stuff.
Exactly. And definitely avoid screen time for at least an hour before bed. That blue light, it messes with your melatonin production.
Right, blue light again, the sleep saboteur.
It's everywhere these days. And relaxation techniques can be really helpful too. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, even guided meditation. It can help calm your mind and prepare you for sleep.
Like giving your brain permission to shut off.
Exactly. Oh, and make sure your bedroom is actually set up for sleep.
Meaning,
Cool, dark, quiet, a comfortable bed, no distractions like TVs or phones.
creating that sleep sanctuary.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect. Life happens. Sometimes you can't stick to the routine, but it's about being aware of how important sleep is and making it a priority.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about what's going on inside my own body and how to take better care of it.
It's been great talking about all this with you. It really is fascinating stuff. And the more we understand these systems, the better we can take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, keep those fascinating facts in mind. Stay curious, and most importantly, sleep well.